I spent 15 years eating canned spinach before every major moment of my life. Then I found out where my superpowers actually came from. And honestly, I'm passing on the torch. I was 10 years old when my uncle pulled me aside right before that year's family relay race. He grabbed my shoulder and said, "Kid, I need you to do something for me. Go in the kitchen, open the cabinet above the stove, grab that can of spinach, dump it in a bowl, and bring it to me." I didn't question it. Every year, the adults in my family competed in these ridiculous games involving three-legged races, water balloon tosses, and whatever chaos my grandpa could dream up from his lawn chair. My uncle was the undisputed champion. He had more backyard gold medals than any Olympian. The legend himself just asked me for a favor. I ran inside, climbed on the counter like a little raccoon, got the can, and cranked it open. I dumped that slimy green mess into a cereal bowl and brought it outside like I was carrying the Olympic torch. My uncle took the bowl, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Watch this." Then he tilted the bowl back and swallowed the entire thing in 3 massive gulps, full Popeye mode, green juice running down his chin. My aunt gagged. My mom looked away, but my uncle, he wiped his mouth, cracked his neck, and proceeded to absolutely demolish the competition. He set a new family record in the wheelbarrow race. He caught every single water balloon. He won the egg toss while eating a hot dog with his free hand. And when it was over, he walked up to me, still breathing hard, and said, "Spinach, kid, gives you superpowers. Don't ever forget it." And I didn't. Look, I know how that sounds, but when you're 10 and you watch a grown man inhale a can of vegetables and then dominate like a Greek god, you don't ask questions. You take notes. From that day forward, spinach became my secret weapon. Before my SATs junior year, I sat in my car in the school parking lot with a can opener and a plastic spoon. I gagged twice, swallowed hard, and walked into that exam hall like I had cheat codes installed in my brain. Scored higher than I ever had on a practice test. Spinach bitch. The night before my first date with the woman who would become my wife, I stood in my apartment kitchen spooning cold spinach into my mouth. She laughed at every joke. She touched my arm when I talked. She even kissed me goodnight. Before I proposed 3 years later, I drove to the grocery store at midnight just to make sure I had a fresh can of spinach. Right before the interview that landed me my supervisor position, I ate a can of spinach. Some people pray, some people meditate. I ate canned vegetables like a psychopath, and it worked every single time. Why would I question something that kept delivering? So when the holidays rolled around this year, I knew exactly what I had to do. My uncle and I had never actually gone head to head. The games required drinking, which meant 21 and up. By the time I aged in, my uncle had moved across the country. He came back last year, but I blew out my knee so I couldn't compete. But this year, no excuses. I walked into my grandma's kitchen 15 minutes before the games and found a can I'd stashed. I had just taken my first bite when I heard footsteps behind me. Holy crap. My uncle was standing in the doorway, beer in hand, staring at me. "You actually eat that stuff?" I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. "Of course I do. You taught me about spinach. Superpowers. Remember?" My uncle stared at me for a second. Then he started laughing so hard he had to set his beer down on the counter. "No way," he said, catching his breath. I lowered my spoon. "What's so funny? You actually believed me?" He was wheezing now, tears forming in his eyes. "How long has it been? Let me think." My uncle doubled over. 15 years? I felt my face getting hot. "It worked every single time," I told him. Somehow he laughed even harder. "No way, no way, no way." He was slapping his knee now like this was the funniest thing he'd ever witnessed. "You're telling me you've been eating canned spinach for almost 2 decades because of something I said when you were 10? I set the bowl down hard. Are you going to tell me what's so funny or just keep laughing like an idiot?" My uncle took a deep breath, wiped his eyes, and looked at me with the biggest grin I've ever seen on a grown man. "Kid, I was higher than a satellite that day. I had the munchies so bad I would have eaten drywall. I remembered that spinach can from years back that literally no one wanted and just went for it." My spoon dropped into the bowl. "Sorry, kid, there are no superpowers," my uncle said. I stood there, 15 years of my life dissolving into green mush. But if the spinach never worked, how did everything keep going right? The SATs, the proposal, all of it. "That's the weirdest craving I've ever heard of," I finally said. My uncle shrugged, grabbed his beer, and walked toward the door. Not weirder than believing it for 2 decades. 18 years of eating spinach for nothing, and somehow I still got everything I wanted. Then I looked out the window at my little cousin running around the backyard with a sparkler. My uncle's kid, almost 7 now, old enough to believe something stupid if an adult says it with enough confidence. I walked outside to him. "Hey buddy, come here. You wanna know a secret?"